Thursday, February the 28th. Sorry that some of you may not have got the fishing report until like Sunday last week. We actually did it Thursday and uploaded it Thursday night, but we put it onto the wrong file, and then I was gone for the weekend, and we didn't realize it till several people called us and emailed us. But anyways, we got it on there Sunday night. We tried to get it up every Thursday night, so that if you're coming down for the weekend, you can have a rough idea of what's going on. But lake level is right at 908 1/4. It's come up about 1.5 feet since that snow and rain that we've got. So we're only about 6.5 feet below normal, which a few weeks ago we was like 10 foot. So lake's coming up good. The water temperature is probably the coldest it's been all winter long. It was, I can tell you the last 2 days I was out, and I guarantee it's cold out there, but the water temperature was in about 43.8, 43.9, get up into the low 44 degrees. And I primarily stayed from Campbell Point to Ants Creek and up in the dam area, pretty much in the clear water. And it seems like after that snow and rain, the water is extremely clear. A lot of times we get that weather like that, it'll settle a lot of the stuff out of the water. We didn't have much runoff, so there's not much stain. Now the upper river arms, the water's, I'm sure, is colder and a little bit more stained. But, I think this is the coldest that the water is going to get. By the looks of the weather, we've got, after this weekend, the next 5 or 6 days, we're supposed to have several 50 and 60 degree days. So that should start to warm that water up. And normally if we have a shad kill or some of the shad start to die off, I always find it's right after the lake gets to the coldest temperature that it's going to get, and it starts to rise up is when a lot of the weak and injured shad seem to die. Which, as long as we don't have a big shad kill, it really doesn't affect the fishing that much. I think it actually helps it. But if it's a real bad shad kill, then the fish will just gorge on all the shad that's dying. But with the weather warming up, in the last few days, it's been a tough bite. You got to fish really slow. But, I have caught some good fish. I caught one, weighed like 897 or something yesterday. Big old female. But, and last weekend I had several pictures people sent me of some big fish that have been caught. And, we've been catching them on jerk baits, some on the A-rig. There's been still some, today I caught fish on a wiggle wart, even though the water's only 43, 44 degrees. You just got to crank it really slow. But my bigger fish have been coming on the jerk bait and the A-rig. With this weather warming up, it's going to open up a lot of things to a lot of different techniques will be starting to work. And one thing you kind of want to watch for is this time of the year, we're really looking and wanting the sun to come out. Because a couple degrees difference in the water temperature throughout the day really makes a difference, and you'll find that the fish will start feeding again, later in the afternoon, especially once the sun's been out and the water's warmed up a little bit. They'll come up a little bit higher in the water column. I'm starting to see a lot of shad and baitfish in different arms of the lake. You can actually see the gulls. Some things that we talked about this winter that normally the shad will get in the center of these deep creeks, and you'll see the gulls and the loons working around the shad. And there's several different ways, if you find these big groups of shad, like today I found them, they were 30, 40 feet deep, and some places it was 70, 80 foot of water, but there was some fish around them. I didn't spend a whole lot of time trying to catch them. I was more concentrating on trying to get a bigger bite on an A-rig and a jerkbait. But several different ways you can catch them fish out there. You can try to catch them on a drop shot, a white jigging spoon, or an ice fishing jig. And you can even take an A-rig out there and count it down. That A-rig will drop down about 2 foot a second, but count it down about 15 or so, and then just slow roll it back to the boat and try to work it through the shad. Normally the fish will be underneath those schools of shad. Now, the big shad schools that I seen, I didn't see what I thought was, very many active fish feeding around them or underneath them, you know, going around with my electronics looking at them. That's why I didn't spend too much time messing around with them. Oh, excuse me, I'm all plugged up. But like I say, the next week, you know, even this weekend, you know, Saturday the sun's supposed to come out, and I think, you know, the bite will get a lot better in the afternoon. Sunday it's supposed to get up to, I think, close to 50 degrees. That'll get the fish fired up in the afternoon. But we should be starting to get into a lot more of the, you know, like the pre-spawn into some of the spring patterns now, where, you know, football jigs will start to work, jigs around docks. So it's kind of, in the next couple weeks, you know, whatever your favorite deal to do is, what you want to do is try to find spawning areas. And if we've got several warm days, you'll actually be able to catch the fish in the shallows where they're going to spawn. You know, they won't be spawning yet, but then bigger females will be in there cruising around, checking some things out. If they're not in there, just start backing out to the first deep point where there's a channel that swings in against it, or work your way, you know, out of the creeks. And there'll also be a lot of the fish starting to come up out of the main lake, coming up out of the deeper water, staging on the main lake points to basically work their way back to the secondary points, and then back in some of the spawning pockets. So I think we've really got a lot to look forward to. Right now, the key just seems to be fish extremely slow. The jerk baits I'm throwing is pretty much what I've been throwing all winter. I throw a lot of, especially with the water real clear like it is, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in the mega bass if I'm in the real clear water. Now, if I'm in the stained water, I'll throw a mega bass, but out here where I've been fishing in the real clear water, the Spros and the Smithwicks will get down a little bit deeper. The mega bass won't get down as deep. And now we've had wind, you know, a lot of wind, you know, 15 miles an hour or so the last few days, which made it kind of raw out there. But when that wind stops blowing and that sun gets out, as clear as that water is, you won't have to worry about feeling a jerkbait bite. You'll probably see it, because, I mean, that's how clear the water is. When I'd get into some slick water today, I could see, you know, my bait down 6-7 foot, pretty much from about halfway back on my retrieve back to the boat. So that's how, you know, the water's extremely clear, and that's why I've got a little bit more confidence in the Spro versus the mega bass. Now, you know, you can get a mega bass a deeper bill, which probably wouldn't be a bad bait to throw. But a lot of the colors, this is I think it's a Ghost Norman Flake. It's kind of a clear bait. Another one I've been throwing, it looks almost like a sexy shad pattern. I think they call it the Blue Bandit. It's been working good. And on the Alabama rig, you know, I've been throwing Swim Fluke Juniors for my swim baits on it. Bait fish color, smoking shad, albino, sometimes white ice. I've just kind of been mixing up the colors. I hadn't been getting a ton of bites on the A-rig, but the bites that I've been getting have been good. We've got a tournament this weekend, and I think it's probably going to 5 fish. It'll take probably 22 to 25 pounds. I'll expect the weights to drop in the top 10 pretty good, but I mean, from now till probably the 1st of April, there's going to be some really big fish caught in the lake. So if you get a chance to get out, you need to get out and see if you can get you a couple of them. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.